Hello, folks. This is your ticker guy coming at you from Niceville. I'm going to ramble a little bit at you today about people, specifically us, the people that live in this country today, people that call themselves Americans, and the administrative state and the things that it has done over the years. The 9/11 focused on the impeachment area and the what I believe the government is trying to actually cover up with and prevent from coming out. Both and it's linked to Ukraine because that's where a lot of the corruption money is going through, but it's also linked to the Middle East and people like Brennan. You know, it's funny that people think that there's some grand, terrible thing about that. Oh no, that would never happen. That would never, folks. It has happened. Not only am I absolutely convinced that that's what happened here, but this is not the first time it's happened. Who remembers the Lusitania? Oh, no, nobody, right? Because all of the Lusitania, of course, was sunk many, many years before I was born. I wasn't even a glean in my parents' eyes at that point because they weren't even around. But the Lusitania was torpedoed by the Germans. It was a big part of the reason that America went into the war. And at the time, the outrage was that those evil bastard Germans, they torpedoed a merchant ship that was full of people. Didn't have anything on it that it shouldn't. It was a passenger liner, you bastards. Okay. The British, who had the territorial waters where it went down, were successful in preventing people from diving on it and actually proving what the Germans had asserted all along, that the thing was carrying ammunition. And as a result, it was a legitimate target because it was carrying warfighting materials. And oh, by the way, at the time, the British and the Germans were at war. So the British, of course, oh, no, we didn't do any of that stuff. Well, then somebody manages to get a diving expedition over there. They get some people down there. They get some ROVs down there as well. And, gee, what do they bring up? They bring up ammunition. The Germans, and by the way, the reports at the time was that almost immediately after the ship was torpedoed, there was a secondary explosion, absolutely enormous, that ripped the boat apart, and it sank in an incredibly short period after that. And an awful lot of people died, of course. So, there was, and the official British explanation, well, it must have been the boilers. No, apparently it was not the boilers. Apparently what blew up was the ammunition. And we some rounds were recovered. So now we know that our wonderful government, and of course the government of Britain, we lied about that. We lied our way into a war. And not the first time, won't be the last. So the idea that the administrative state allowed a bunch of jihadis into the United States, and then they blew up the Twin Towers along with the Pentagon, tried to blow up the Capitol, but failed. And as a result, we then used that as a pretext to go tamper around in the Middle East, specifically Iraq, is not fanciful at all. The thing is, in the case of the Lusitania, all the people who would have a bonfire in the U.S. Capitol, they're all dead because they're, it's long-lost relatives, 3 generations back at this point, right, when this was positively identified that, yes, indeed, we really did bullshit everybody. And the other thing is that all the bastards in the government who did it are also dead. So holding a bonfire would, there's nobody to bonfire anymore, and there's nobody to do the bonfiring. 9/11's a little too fresh for that now, isn't it? Because there are still plenty of people who were involved. Some of them actually got rewarded with additional posts and still work in government-attached and related positions. One of them might be a board member at Burisma and attached to Mitt Romney. Another one was Obama's CIA director. I mean, the proximity is still too close, right? Now, 100 years from now, nobody will give a wet crap. But right now, people just might, and that's dangerous. Why? Because who doesn't know somebody who either knew somebody or had a family member or whatever that got blown up that day? There are plenty of people still around who are really exercised and pissed off about it. Never mind all the firefighters and other people in New York that were there to help and ended up very sick because they were inhaling dust containing God knows what, all kinds of asbestos and other crap. and basically smoke eating for hours and hours and hours, and therefore there's all the problems that come along with that. All right, and of course, it was just those evil jihadis. So the U.S. government didn't have anything to do with it, except it did, folks. And the conspiracy nuts are still running around trying to claim that the buildings were blown up. No, they weren't. No. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that nonsense was started by a bunch of CIA dudes. So think about this, folks. You're actually aiding the administrative state and covering up the truth because you're labeling yourself as a nutter when you start talking about controlled demos on buildings that take months to set up. And then on top of that, you're presuming that all of this setup, all of these charges, all the wiring, everything else, survives perfectly well when a plane runs into the building at 400 miles an hour. I don't think so. Sprays burning kerosene all over the place. I mean, come on. That's just absolute abject nonsense. But think about this, folks. Where are we? Where are we now? We're so outraged. Everything is all about outrage. CNN had this town hall thing on LGBT, however many letters you got, PQRS, let's fuck little boys, let's fuck little girls. Oh, by the way, how's that tie into Epstein? Yeah, maybe a little bit, eh? Pedophilia is the next thing they want to try to normalize. Oh, it's okay that you like little girls, or it's okay that you like little boys. I don't think so. But, anyway, this transsexual, transgender, whatever, is on this thing, and the person from CNN mispronounces their name. And this person says, oh, that's violence. That's not violence. People mispronounce my last name all the time. You take your best bet based upon the spelling that you see? Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. That's not violence. What are you, out of your mind? You're crazy. You're flat out freaking crazy. Secondly, why are we taking personal dislike of your draw in the genetic lottery and turning that into a grievance industry? Never mind everything that goes along with it. And oh, by the way, if you think you can change an immutable characteristic by making yourself look differently, you've got a problem. There is a thing that we used to recognize in psychology and psychiatry. It's called delusions, or even paranoid delusions. There's a second level of it, okay? Being delusional is an illness. It's not, it's sad. It's not something to make fun of people for. It's not something to disadvantage people or discriminate against them because of. But it's not something that you can change. We have a sex. There's two sexes, male and female. If you happen to be born male and you don't like it, that's very sad. But you can't make yourself female. There's nothing you can do about it. Your sex was set at the time of the first combination and then division of sperm and egg into a zygote, and then they start to divide. At that point, your chromosomal makeup is fixed. There's nothing you can do about it. It's way before you have any level of consciousness by a long time. You can't do anything about this. It's very sad that you don't like it, but you know what? There's a lot of things. There's plenty of things I don't like. I'm kind of exercised that I can't run a sub 2-hour marathon like this guy just did, by the way, unofficial record, because he had pacers, which violates the rules for actual records. But he actually did it. Something that we didn't. There were a lot of people, myself included, that wondered if humans would ever actually break that barrier. Well, they did. Same thing happened with the 4-minute mile, right? That was, for a long time, that was considered to be an inviolate barrier. Well, guess what? It was broken. We had people that said, Kennedy said, we're going to put man on the moon. We didn't know how to do it. Less than 10 years later, we did it. It was about 10 years later. We put man on the moon. And we did it without computers. We did it without social media. We did it without all this self-affirming bullshit. We just put our nose to the grindstone, and we did it. And today, instead of putting our nose to the grindstone and just doing it, we're all aggrieved. We're all pissed off. We're all bent out of shape. We're all this. We're all that. Oh, my God, the world's going to end in 12 years unless we all stop burning carbon. Oh, bull. What a load of crap. You have people like AOC running around like her hair's on fire, for crying out loud, which would be an improvement if it happened. And telling us how horrible we all are. Greta Thunberg, how dare you? Really? Really, Greta? You're one of the most privileged little brats that's ever walked on the face of the planet. You have more than 99.9% of the humans that have ever set foot on planet Earth. You live in a golden age where we have gotten so soft and so coddled and so pampered. You get up in the morning and you flip a switch and by God, the lights come on. You go to take a crap and by God, you pull the handle and the toilet flushes. You know what? A decent part of the world doesn't have those things. Hasn't gotten there yet. But boy, they'd like to. They see us with it and they want it. And who can blame them? If you're living in a straw hut somewhere and you got to go take a crap on the side of the street or in a pit dug in the backyard, are you telling me that you don't want flush toilets, you don't want electricity so that when you hear something go bump in the night, you can throw the switch? Excuse me? How dare you, you bitch? You're going to tell me about this being some terrible, oh my God, we're all so awful. Oh, an AOC. Oh, I am so bittersweet about the idea of having children. You know what? We have things that have gone on in this country. We worked, we strived, we built railroads across this nation in a very short period of time. We broke backs doing that. Humans did that. People did that. Why? Because we just decided we were going to do it. We dammed rivers. We made electrical power. We figured out how to dig fossil fuels out of the ground and use them for energy. And you know what has powered every single human advancement over time? It's been energy. And then the next thing that did it was capitalism. And you know what we've done? We've perverted both. Oh, we're going to have windmills. Yeah, okay, what are you going to do with those fiberglass blades? By the way, they fatigue and wear out, and they're non-recyclable. Well, we have capitalism. We're the greatest people in the world. Really, you have capitalism? We actually sell things based on their utility and what they do for people? Oh, what a load of BS. You just had a guy that had this 1,000 people show up, promoted on social media as this veteran that had no family, and it turns out that entire thing was a lie. But 1,000 people showed up. Oh boy, hey, listen, we feel so good. How much better would it be if instead of that outrage, you actually did something useful? Could we even put a man on the moon right now? No. Could we build a railroad? I don't know. Why don't you go ask California? They've been trying to build a little itty bitty railroad. For how long? They haven't laid one single foot of track. Not one. They got half a bridge to show for it so far. Really? We're so wonderful. We're so great. We are so aggrieved. We can always find something to be pissed off about, and it's somebody else's damned fault. And then we let people like the CIA, like John Brennan, Bolton, all these other clown faces, along with those people allegedly in power, we let them run their bullshit, their cover stories, and their nonsense. 3,000 people get murdered because we let those people into this country on purpose. We gave them visas. They didn't sneak across the border from Mexico. They didn't break into the United States. We let them in. And then we had people calling the FBI saying, these guys are doing hinky crap. Something bad's going on. We did nothing. Absolutely nothing. We had a mass shooting a few years ago where the FBI was tailing the guy who had the guns and was going to do the shooting. And when he stepped out of the truck, they still didn't arrest him. And we have outrage over 423 genders, and somebody used the wrong pronoun. Oh, my God. Give me a break, folks. People ask, why am I seriously contemplating just buying a cabin up on top of a mountaintop somewhere and just disappearing, saying, the hell with all you folks. Turn it all off, shut it down, leave. Tell everybody, here, see this big fat middle finger, sit on this and spin. You want to know why? It's reasons like that. Where are the serious people in this country who actually want to sit down and get something done? Don't tell me Trump's doing it either. No, that's a bunch of bullshit. Those of you that are Trumpaholics, caca. That's what it really is. Not kaga, caca. You want to know why? because the medical industry steals $3 trillion a year from you. The day that I cannot get on a plane, fly to Narita, and have an MRI done and fly home for less than it costs me to have it done here in the United States in my backyard 2 miles away is the day that you can talk to me about us having a great medical system and a just capitalist system. The day that it doesn't cost $80,000 or $40,000 or whatever it is today for Sovaldi to treat hepatitis C, when I can get on a plane, fly to India, and buy the same effing medicine for $900 and sit over there in a hotel for the 3 months it takes for me to take those pills for 3 months, have a grand vacation, and fly home for way, way less than the tens of thousands of dollars it costs here. Then you can talk to me about this. All of this garbage is illegal and has been illegal for more than 100 years. And yet all you want to do is talk to me about gender pronouns.